So in 2001, I married Scott, and I lived through hell. Just hell, till I finally got divorced in 2004. In 2005, I walked through the door at COR, and immediately Squeaky went on attack. And I beat my head against that wall for 4.5, 5 years, twisting myself into a pretzel, buying new stuff, trying to figure out the right stuff, trying to figure out the right way. Not one positive interaction. No one would give me 5 minutes to discuss their church, their beliefs, let alone why I'm being attacked by total strangers, let alone what this super secret list of right stuff and right way is. Just digging for dirt to gossip about. Something their friends can throw back in my face on Sunday morning. Let alone what this phantom smell is that people are alluding to. The fakey coughs, and they just run away laughing whenever I ask. And I saw at least 12 doctors and specialists who never smelled anything. And even more, neurologists and chiropractors that I saw for the back issues and the nerve pain, they swore there was no smell. I saw this chiropractor for 3 months, multiple times a week. And he said, they're just messing with you. There is no odor. I get up and close with people and I smell BO. And I've never smelt anything wrong with you. And I was half convinced it was just a game. But I still cared enough to spend nearly $7,000 trying to figure it out. I mean, people aren't just evil, right? I couldn't pay anyone to tell me. Remember Heather, that Christian counselor? I mean, she just would not respond to me. I tell her people say she wouldn't talk about her church, wouldn't talk about her beliefs. I tell her people say I smell. Next time I go in, she's got the blower going the whole time. I tell her people are spraying perfume at me, and the next time I go in, she's spraying her perfume the whole time I'm in there. I mean, she will not respond. All she wants to do is pray for me. All she wants to do is pray for me, a man God. I go down the street to Mimi. And Mimi, same thing. I'm talking to her about what's going on. I'm talking to her about what I've been through with Scott, what I've been through with Dave and Vicky, and every time she just gets nasty. And I go back to Software Answers, and they're repeating what I said in counseling. 2013, I left Ohio, and I'm living outside a one-light town of about 600 people. I don't know anybody. I don't bother anybody. I lived there for over a year. No problems, and it starts again. I have these neighbors following me around with their fakey coughs, poisoning my dog, vandalizing my car, breaking into my house and vandalizing my stuff, stealing my medication, and I go to Yadkin County Sheriff's Department with pictures and documentation of just what's going on there in East Bend, not even Ohio. And when they ask me who I think's doing this, and when I tell them about this group, they drop their pens and start laughing and looking at each other with that face and just walk me out the door. They refuse to even file a report. I was so desperate to get out of there, I rented this room from this drug addict bully boy. Spent 3 months babysitting his kids and just trying to start a fight the whole time. And paying the same rent I was paying for a whole house. And you know what? The worst day there was still light years better than the best day I ever had in any church. And they're still following me. It's trolls and stalkers, and I just went so dark. I felt into the drugs and alcohol, fantasies of going back to Ohio, and if I'd had 2 nickels to my name, I'd be covered in piercings and tattoos. I mean, what do I have to do to prove that I don't want to be you? All I'd been through in my 20s, with married men, and with Scott, and with this group, it had been over a decade at that point. I even considered an affair with a married man. I mean, he had no intentions of leaving his wife and family. Why shouldn't I just go out and fulfill my carnal desires and send him back home to his wife to deal with his bullshit? But, I mean, over a decade, across 3 states, I had not met one man or woman worth wanting any kind of relationship with. Anything. And then God brought some of those people into my life who had gone to some extreme to prove that they didn't care, that their church kicked them to the curb because they didn't have the right social status for their spiritual path. Tattoos and piercings and drugs and sex, just so desperate to prove that they don't want to look the right way. And I'm like, why am I letting this hate group bully me into being something I don't want to be, that I don't even like? I mean, I never had a church family. No one ever let me in. Squeaky was my introduction to Christianity, and no one ever wavered. was hit and run, just desperate to let me know that there was not one hair on my head, not one cell in my body that would ever be good enough for them and their God. Yeah, I definitely never found the right Bible. So then I encountered this woman in this meetup group, just another meetup group. And she's nearly in tears that her church had kicked her to the curb because she got divorced. And all I said was, I'm sorry that happened to you. It's not right. You know, and in typical church lady style, she went on attack. Just desperate to prove that she had more money, more stuff, that she was special, that she was better than me. You know? I mean, the church never meant anything to me. Nothing positive. But it seemed to mean everything to her. And it seemed like she had never, ever encountered genuine empathy. It was the same cat fight and the same old cheap-ass competition. And I know you hate that, but you know it's true. I have never had friends. I have never been in a group of people of any gender or any age that acted like this. But it's been 15 years. Well, maybe nearly 20. And you just can't convince me that the God, the Creator, would expect a soul to stay in an abusive, destructive relationship in order to look the right way. You can't convince me that God would expect a specific social status in order to be good enough. You can't convince me that God would expect a soul to surround themselves with abusive, destructive people every week and call them family in order to earn salvation. Now, no one's perfect. Don't go back on your perfect kick. This wasn't a bad moment or a bad day or a bad situation. It's been 15 years of a religiously fueled terrorist hate group. And you know what God never said in any of my Bibles? You have to have the right stuff. You don't look the right way. You just got to look the right way. You know what Jesus never said in any of my Bibles? You can give me your money and you can listen to my sermons, but I won't accept you or support you because you don't have a man God. Got to have a man God. It's all about the man God. Why would I even want to believe in a God like that? I mean, that's a really twisted version of God. It's like a bad country song. You know, Daddy was a gambler and a drunk and a whore, but Mama always took him back. She'd just do anything for a man God. She'd just do anything to look the right way. Why can't I find me a good woman like that? Well, can I make a suggestion? And I mean, all the way back to Squeaky. Total stranger. She'd run up and make some rude, crude, nasty comment and then run off saying, I just do anything to be loved. Desperate to be loved. Unlovable. And when she got up on stage to talk about her man God and all the abortions he made her have, I really did just think she was projecting. But nope. All the women's groups, all the prayer groups, I just do anything for a man God. Just desperate for a man God. And Joya, remember Joya? My church won't marry us because we live together. If they wanted us to live right, they'd marry us. Oh, come on, I spent 9 months at that company with them picking me apart. Stupid, shallow, petty, just insignificant. And not just me, I watched them do it to other people too. Now you know I don't catfight the right way. I was never trained up to church the right way. What makes you think I have any understanding of your specific church's rules and regulations? Come on, ladies, I don't know what the problem is. These churches I've been in, they're bragging about their weddings, bragging about how they'll have you married off in no time. I mean, you don't even have to have anyone in mind. All you got to do is show up to the singles group and let them find you a man God. You don't even have to go to the singles group. They'll just have all the single ladies raise their hand during service, and when you turn to leave, you'll find 40 or 50 men lined up against the back wall, and they'll just come charging out at you, charging out into the crowd. I don't know what the problem is. Go do it. Go do it. There's no way in hell you could convince me to do something like that. Not then, certainly not now. But it's not my job to judge you. It's not my job to convince you otherwise. And if you have any reservations, don't you worry. They will follow you to the ends of the earth to convince you that you're just a slab of meat without an owner. That God did not create you as a complete and whole human being. and that their God will never accept you unless you've got a man God. Now, I've had a lot of regrets in my life, and they all pale in comparison to marrying that man. The only thing I regret more was beating my head against that wall for 4.5, maybe 5 years. Nothing else in the world. There's nothing else in the world that we agree to is that I'm not that smart. Not one positive interaction in the church. Not one basic human connection. You think I'm exaggerating? Give me a name. Just one. And Sierra, this neighbor here where I'm at now, she comes knocking at my door one day, and she goes straight into the, "Don't you hate the church? Didn't you lose your faith? Ha 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 ha," with that bug-eyed, snarly-toothed Carrie face. Is that what you need to hear? Okay. I never found God in a church. I never found Jesus in a church. All I ever found was the man God, the money God. And I promise you, I have no faith in the man God. I have no faith in the money God. Thank you for never wavering. Thank you for never pretending to have anything more to offer. So to my 50 or so YouTube viewers, if that's not you and that's not your church, well then you really do have something to be thankful for today. But I've never been there, and we've never met. It's the only church I ever found.